Oh, good morning, everybody. Sorry about the late start.
We're too busy talking.
We've got Jerry Satterley here today and Dennis from Otter Creek.
Guys. Morning, everybody.
And of course, Steve and I, which I'm sure you get tired of. Anyway, I'll let Steve go down the roster who's here this morning.
Oh yeah, we got Dwight Curley, Rob T. Man, Schuylkill River Valley John. Good morning, John Tanzillo, and of course we've got Jerry Satz, Roy Eltham. We got John Grandpa Rails. Who else did I see? I know I saw somebody else. My thing's messing up.
Bernard's here.
Bernard, I didn't see Bernard. Wait a minute.
He's getting snow.
We got Digger. We got new Bill or new Fenris. Oh, let's see who else we got. Did I miss
Almore?
Dwight Curley's here.
Dwight Curley.
He's just walked in.
Yep.
And Closet Branch. We got Closet Branch here. Good morning. I think that's everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry.
Good morning, guys. We don't have really a show today, but we got Dennis and Jerry to jump on with us, and we were talking about mileages in Oklahoma.
There's the show right there. Right there.
And how far apart everything can be. We're not as bad as Texas, though, or someplace like Montana or someplace like that. But yeah, if you're going from here, say out to Panhandle, it's 6 hours, 6.5 hours to get out the end of the Panhandle. And to put that into perspective, for me to go to South Central Colorado going that way to Alamosa, it's only 12 hours. So it takes me longer to get out of the state going out through the Panhandle than it does to go through New Mexico and up through Colorado to Alamosa.
I guess I never realized how many states border you.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. A lot of states border you.
Yeah, we got Heath jumped on. Good morning, Heath.
Morning, Heath.
Elmar jumped on. Good morning, Al.
Yeah, Jerry, we've got a county here in Oklahoma that borders 3 states, right, Dennis? Or is it 4?
I think we probably have one that borders 4.
It borders, we have 4: Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right at the end of the Panhandle. I think it's Beaver County. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of states right around us.
Yeah, like I was telling you earlier on chat, I think
it would either be Cimarron or Texas. I don't think Beaver does.
Oh, okay.
Because Beaver, the west line of Beaver County would be another Oklahoma county.
What were you going to say, Jerry?
Like I was telling everybody in chat, I'm going to tell you, I was telling Claude, I saw Jason and Claude had met up at a train show, and I'm like, and Jason had posted a photo on his community. I'm like, I know that guy. He looks familiar, but I just can't place him. I didn't realize you were so close to Jason that you could come over to the train show in Arkansas.
Well, it was in Bentonville, which is only, like say, about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes for me.
Right. Yeah, I just didn't realize that. I knew you were bordering states like Texas, but
I left at 7:30 in the morning and got there right after it opened at 9.
That's not a bad ride.
Jason left at 5 in the morning to get there.
Oh, so he lives further away.
Yeah, he's on the east side of Fayetteville.
So he lives
which is down further south and in the middle of the state. Bentonville's way up in the northwest corner of Arkansas.
Yeah, we got Bill. Good morning, Bill. And Heath says he came on to see the guy with the best hair in model railroading, and he's not here, and we just have a bunch of bald guys in hats.
That's it.
You hit that one.
Steve has hair.
Hit that one right on the head.
That's why you wear a hat when you're bald, so you don't get sunburned.
Steve has more hair than all of us.
I don't think it's hair. I think it's fungus.
It's dirt. I don't. Yeah.
Sawdust from building that car.
I got rid of most of my facial hair the other day. I did my bi-monthly shave.
Someone told me you got to trim it back.
So we don't have a subject today, guys, as you can tell. So if you want to talk about something, just put it in the chat, and I'm sure we can come up with something to talk about. But anyway, you guys have probably been keeping up with Steve and his reefer car build, but he did a fantastic job on it. And we were talking truss rods and queen posts this morning.
Yeah, I didn't know what those
put
were
on the
called.
bottom side of it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Flip it over and weld some of those on. So that's another detail. I got a brass rod for the brake handle. I've got an outfit that'll have the brake wheel and the sprocket on the bottom with the dog. So I'll be ordering that.
Will it be functional or just for looks?
Just for looks. I got to be able to take it out because I'm going to have a cover for it. And I don't, it's going to be sticking up, a couple inches above the top. So I'm just going to make it removable, just slide it out.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks really good.
It turned out better than I hoped. If you want to know the truth.
Yeah, so that looks really, really good.
The whole
what,
roof
Jerry?
The whole roof removes.
Yeah.
To get your bottle out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it just lifts right off, and it's pretty beefy because I got to be able to have it strong enough for Claude to sit on it.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, now we were talking truss rods before you guys got on that he got to put on it, and I told him, I said, yeah, you just got to put your couple of queen posts in there, and he said, a what?
Yeah.
I had to explain to him why they had queen posts on them.
Well, I know why. I just didn't know what they were called.
You can tell. Well, you can tell he was a modern day engineer because they don't got him on these new.
We didn't have
cars.
Well, the best feature of this thing though is the hatches are just big enough to be able to reach inside the cooler that's going to fit right inside here and pull your beverages out. So that's
a plus.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
So it really is a reefer. And that's Claude's idea. That was Claude's idea. And I didn't even think about it.
Otherwise, it'd be boring sitting back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heath has a question. Have you had any epiphanies in model railroading that have dramatically changed your perspective on some aspect of the hobby? That's a good question.
It is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had any epiphanies.
Not me.
I don't know what that means.
I feel like I have an answer for that, but I'm not sure what the answer is. This whole electronics thing with me, I started the project of the LCC and the highly technical things. I did it primarily because I wanted to have a very highly functional staging yard that was kind of hands-free. I didn't have to push a bunch of buttons, flip a bunch of switches, and double check all of my tracks to make sure I wasn't going to have a derailment. And kind of in the process of really digging into the electronics, which is absolutely my weakest point in the hobby, I've decided that I still don't like it.
I understand that. That's why I didn't go that way. Now, that was my epiphany. I wasn't going to get into the real heavy technical stuff.
Yeah, I have enjoyed it. And, I know people get turned off by it, but if you've ever worked with an Excel program and done some conditional formatting with Excel, LCC is no different. Yeah. It's just wrapping your head around how you get from point A to point B and make it do what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, after 45 years or so working, I fully believe in the KISS system.
Yeah.
Because even with that, you're going to have, problems. But the more technical it gets, the harder it is to find stuff like you're kind of finding now. It can be something simple. But the more technical all your electronics are, the more wires you got going everywhere and everything else. And so it's just more to check.
I'm experiencing that right now.
Well, we've got Brian Jones. Good morning, brother. How are you?
Brian, Roy, Container
And
Man's here. Daniel
we
Brooks
got
is
Container Man 68 with the pink truck.
I think.
That's a you wouldn't know what that means, but Roy does. I was watching the live stream of the People's Convoy, the trucker convoy, and he was reading off chat, and he goes, "Oh, Container Man 68, thank you." He gave him a super chat, and he says, "Only a real man can drive a pink truck." And I was like, "Okay." And so I asked Roy. I didn't know he painted his truck pink. So.
Yeah, well, Dennis, you probably may have had this problem. I was hooking my panel up and stuff, and after we get all the shorts figured out and all that stuff, I had one tortoise that wasn't working, that had been in for a long time on the other side of the yard, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And I checked it with just the DC power pack, worked fine. So what we've narrowed it down to, even though the power supply for the touch toggles that I'm using from Barrett Hill will do 24 turnout motors, it was far enough away and long enough lead wires over to that turnout motor, to that tortoise, that it wouldn't give it enough power to go. Because every once in a while it would try to go, but it just sounded really bad.
Too much resistance in the wiring.
Yeah. Yeah, I was using 24 gauge wire for those going to each of the motors. But because I have 12, about 12 motors on that, maybe more than that, maybe 14 with all the crossovers. But anyway, I think each one of those tortoises, even though they're not moving at the time, still have resistance on them. So that when you start adding them, all in the same spot, they're drawing a little bit all the time. And once I ran 20 gauge wire over there, worked like a champ.
Cool.
So
that's
one of those things
problem.
I'm sorry?
I said, I don't think that's going to be my problem, though.
Well, that was one of the things I would have never thought of.
Somewhere on the bus.
Yeah.
Going to the rails, I think, is my issue. I just going to have to do a lot of head scratching and testing.
Well, just start on one end and take it apart and move down and check it.
I just had an epiphany.
Uh-oh.
I still don't know what that means.
It means like I don't know, an after
Life changing thought.
Yeah, life changing thought.
Oh, okay.
I wonder
or hobby changing in this case.
You guys are all talking about wiring your layouts. My layout's so small. Wiring to me is easy, but bigger layouts. I wonder if they'll ever make a battery-powered engine that you don't have to wire your layout for.
Well, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah,
they do it in G scale.
You could go in the N scale or any scale that you can still control, like a radio-controlled car.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have these problems.
Yeah, they do have them.
I know.
I mean,
you're probably talking in a smaller scale.
Yeah, in smaller scales, sure, G scale. But
with the batteries they have now, of course, coming from the RC airplane hobby over to this, they've got batteries that would run a locomotive for probably an hour.
Would they be able to pull the same amperage, if that's the right word? I mean, would they have enough power in the
it depends. It's all going to depend on what the motor draw is and all that kind of stuff on that particular locomotive. But they fly airplanes. They've got some, depending on the size of the airplane and the size of the motor there again, is how long you can fly with them. Right. But they've got some that you can fly for 30 minutes. And that's a solid, motor draw the whole time. Now, those are expensive batteries, and some of them are dangerous. In the RC airplane hobby, it's LiPo batteries, which are phosphorus batteries. So you have to be very careful with them. If you crash one and damage the battery, it can explode or catch fire. And we had a guy picked up a damaged battery. Somebody at the field had crashed, and the guy left the battery on the car. Well, he just took the battery, was going to see if he could salvage the battery, and threw it in the back of his pickup truck. burn his pickup truck down.
Oh no!
Down.
So I guess right now.
Yeah,
it's
so
not
they can be
bad.
very dangerous. I wouldn't use a LiPo battery in the house at all.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that you're supposed to do to store them and everything. I would be very wary to use it on a railroad. Because if it did catch fire, it'd burn your house down probably before you could get it. Because phosphorus fire is very hot. And the air is what makes it burn. So
Brian says that he still loves Container Man, even if he does drive a pink truck.
It was a good idea in my head.
Oh.
And Roy shouted, he's not driving a pink truck.
Hey, Randall.
Hi, Randall.
Hey guys, what's happening?
Oh, just hanging out. Wasn't sure I could get you on here because I'm not sure, since we don't have the upgrade on StreamYard, I wasn't sure how many people could be on here at once.
Yeah.
I've never looked at having more than 4.
Today.
I guess my epiphany is it's a whole hell of a lot easier to super detail this than N scale.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. The one, yeah, you're 1.5 inches.
Yeah, that's a little easier to detail.
Most definitely.
Hey, Steve, I got to talk to you offline, about these big cars.
What big cars? These big cars?
Those big cars.
Yeah.
Just curious about something.
You know how to? You can get a hold of me. You know how?
How to get a hold of you? Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, there was one guy had a whole bunch of cars. He had 2,000 feet of track and an engine, live steam engine for 15,000.
Oh, that was a steal.
That is a steal if you've got the room to put it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of stuff. He's over here by Muskogee.
Buy one, but I'm not looking to buy one. But it's just kind of I see what you're doing, and I don't know. I have thoughts.
Yeah. Message me or however you want. We'll talk.
Yeah,
That sounded dangerous, Jerry.
it could be.
We got 29 people in chat. Holy crap!
Good, great. What happened?
Only 16 likes. How unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
Nancy's here. Good morning, Nancy.
I guess
John,
some of
our
us
favorite
don't like
pilot's
it.
here.
We got John, our favorite pilot. Good morning, John. Also, Miss Steve Anderson. Steve popped in. Bernard popped in. We got Lehigh River Subdivision.
Brian says Jerry can build those things. I don't doubt it. Steve did a pretty good job. I'm sure Jerry could probably do the same.
Hey, if I can do it, anybody can. I still have all 10 fingers too.
But you've done things to that car that I don't know if I would feel comfortable doing, like tongue and groove in those little tiny boards. I don't know.
It's really not that hard. It's all basic cabinetry, just smaller.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. But
I've got a really thin veneer blade too that helps cut the small stuff.
Yeah. But you did just an absolute phenomenal job on all the cars that you've done.
Well, Brian said if you're going to build one or build them, he wants one. There you go.
What?
He said if you're going to build one of those cars, he wants one.
Who?
Brian.
Brian who?
Brian with Iron Horse.
Brian Jones.
Oh, I'm not.
He says, yes, Jared's going to build those bad boys. I want one.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, there's a caboose in the future. If this will pull Claude and me, then I'll build a caboose for it.
That'll be a trick if it pulls.
Back in the green room, I was about to ask you, Steve. Will all these fit in your truck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And if you add a caboose, it'll fit too?
Yeah, because these stands are 7 feet long, and that's the length of the bed of my truck.
So do you put that whole stand in your truck?
No, I roll these out to this roll-up door, back my truck up to the door, and roll. These stands are on rollers, so just roll it up to the bed of my truck, and it lines up with
So
bed of ply with it.
How
It's
do you
got
roll-
just wood rails on it. I'm going to make a new one, but yeah, it just rolls into the bed of my truck and strap it down.
so you just roll them into the bed, no rails in your truck. In your truck. And you
Yeah,
just-
there's just wood rails that they ride on.
Okay. I was wondering how you kind of.
It's actually really, really easy.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
cool.
then when you know all these inch and a half scale clubs have some sort of a lot of them are different
Yeah,
ways of loading and unloading. But a train mountain, it's all hydraulic lift that turns.
Yeah,
Just back the truck up to the lift, roll it off the lift at Train Mountain, and
pretty easy.
roll it on the railroad. It's really simple. It's really easy.
How many do you think you could fit in the bed of your truck?
Well, I can do the locomotive, tender, fuel car, and a caboose. I built a fuel car just big enough to go to the end of the stand, and a caboose would fit on the stand. So if I do anything more than that, then I'm going to have to take off the canopy on my truck and put a second deck on it.
Wow, that would be cool too.
What do you use for fuel, Steve?
It's propane.
Propane?
Yeah, Train Mountain doesn't allow solid fuels because of the extreme fire danger.
Right. That's why I was
But,
curious.
They're you can burn in these things propane, coal, wood, fuel oil.
But you guys can only run propane, right?
Yeah, they won't let anybody on the railroad with any solid fuels.
What's the difference in the characteristics from one fuel to another? Or
Well, a lot. Propane is really easy to fire. It's just like a barbecue. Turn it on and off. If you had an issue with water in your boiler, you can just turn the fire off. It's a lot cleaner. It's very clean.
as far as the way the engine runs, is there a difference in how the engine operates, or is that?
No, not really. It's just the ease of firing it. Once you get the heat, it's all the same. But coal is a whole lot different. Well, first of all, on the West Coast, you can't get it. It's dirty. It's very dirty. It's harder on the valve mechanisms and lubrication points. You're constantly cleaning flues. You're always dirty. It smells good. I mean, there's something nostalgic about coal. I mean, it's really nice. But the advantages of propane is you've got instant fire. If you need more steam, more heat, crank it up, and you get it pretty quick. In the reverse, you can turn it off. But coal, you're having to constantly think ahead, to get that fire ready to get the steam before you need it. So a lot of guys like that because you're more connected with the locomotive, that you're having to really think ahead. You're constantly banking the fire and moving things around, so it keeps you a whole lot more busy.
It's like cooking with charcoal and cooking with propane, right?
Yeah, really. And some guys like it. Some guys don't like propane because it's a barbecue. You're just driving a barbecue. So it depends on what's available or what. A lot of guys burn diesel. That's pretty common. Fuel oil, but that's got its own fire hazards. And again, some guys burn wood. John was going to burn wood in this thing when he originally built it. That was his plan, was to burn wood. And he was really disappointed one day because he had a friend of his that he very well respected his opinion. And John got it up to the point where it was where I got it. And the guy says, John, it's really nice, but you're never going to be able to put a fire in this thing. You can't do that. And John he just was devastated. Like, what did I do wrong? It's like, I can't fire it. And he said, why can't I fire this thing? And he said, well, you can't. You'll mess it up. It's too pretty. If you put a fire in it, you'll wreck it.
Okay, so Roy had a question: horsepower versus which fuel you use, and I'm going to guess it doesn't matter which fuel you use for horsepower.
It's all
maybe how fast you can get it heated up, that sort of thing. But I don't think there's any.
No, it's just
Like,
all you're doing.
it's all on
boiling
steam,
water. Once you got the
right?
water boiling, you're off to the races.
Yeah. And
So-
Close Branch says, do you need some kind of permission to build a large steam locomotive?
No,
How about
all you need is the money.
how about the smoke that you would get from coal or wood? Can you still get it?
The smoke? Oh yeah.
How do you get the smoke?
What? Wait a minute.
I think you lost him.
You lost me.
You know how like the steam engines, got this big plume of smoke coming
Right.
out when they're going down the tracks. Can you still get that?
Oh, well, with coal, it'll happen naturally.
Oh yeah, with coal it happens naturally. What happens to
He
propane?
means with propane.
Oh, nothing. You don't get it.
So you can't get it with an additive. Can't put some drops of Lionel in there.
I guess you could.
They don't smoke at all.
Yeah. The only disadvantage of propane is at the end of the day, you end up smelling like propane.
Yeah,
That's the downside.
yeah.
Yeah, you might. Oh, Randall's. Were you gonna say something, Randall?
No, I was just listening in.
Oh, okay. I was going to say about the only thing I can think you could do would be put maybe a water jet or something at the maybe at the base of the funnel or something like that to spray into the hot air as it comes out. Maybe make some steam, but it's not going to be the same.
Well, and it depends on the weather that you're running at. If you're burning in the hot summer where that steam evaporates, then you're not going to get much. But if when the weather's cold, man, these things, you get steam all over the place.
Yeah, because you're going to have steam off of it anyway, regardless. Yeah. Well, it's not going to be coming out the top, but you're still going to get steam out of it. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how tight you make these things. None of them are ever going to be leak free. You're going to have leaks all over the place.
There's two questions in chat. Roy had one, and Georgia Sunbelt had one.
Let's see if I can find him here.
Hey, Anthony.
Okay, here's Roy's question. So how much steam can you generate, how quickly, and duration then? And I'll see if I can find.
Well, as far as quickly, you don't want to fire up too quickly because of the expansion of the boiler. You want to do it slow. So on John's 10-wheeler, we could fire that thing up in about 45 minutes because you want to get it heated slowly. Because if you heat it up too fast, you're going to start popping stuff on these boilers, and that is just it's very expensive to fix. So you want to heat it up slowly. This little girl, she'll probably fire up in 30 minutes. It won't. I mean, it can't be more than 2.5 gallons of water in it. So
with that big burner, I bet it'll go quicker than that.
Yeah. I've got 6 burners on. So that's it. It should fire pretty quick.
So Anthony. Oh, hello.
Uh-oh.
I thought he turned over something there for a minute. Randall?
Yep, that's what happened. I set the camera back off. Oh, crud. Now it's one all over the place.
Randall's on the
Look
road.
at the road, Randall. Look at the road.
Yeah, watch the road.
Look at the road.
Anthony wants to know what you're trying to build.
The tripod didn't work too good.
I'll mute him here in just a second. Oh.
It's a reefer, Anthony.
That was Claude's idea.
What Steve's got going there, Anthony, is that reefer. It's carrying your propane tank.
Yeah, the propane tank's right here.
And the beer chest.
And the beer is accessed through this hatch right here. You can reach in and get your beer there. The other hatch will be for the propane valve. So when it's closed, you don't even see it.
So when you said fuel car, that is the fuel car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you mentioned that earlier. I was thinking that was in addition to. I didn't realize the thing was in there. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, and the roof just lifts. It just lifts straight up, and the propane tank lifts right out. So that's really easy to, pull out, fill up, and put back in. Really simple.
Well, Daniel Banks wants to know, how fast can you replace used steam on a run?
Well, it depends on how much you're using. If I'm pulling clod, probably a lot.
If you can pull me, that's an if.
It's more like, how fast can you get water in the boiler? You've got to be able to replace the water as you're using it. The boiler holds, like I said, I'm guessing maybe 2.5 gallons. Tender holds 3, so there's not a lot of water. How
long can you run then? Just say yourself around a circle track with
forever, as long as you put water and propane in it.
Do what?
Forever, as long as you can put water and propane in it.
Well, that's what I mean. If you have 5 gallons, your tender's full, your boiler's full. How long a runtime do you have just on that?
That's a good question. I don't know until I get out on the track. Tim Parks with his mogul. Well, he just rebuilt made a new tender, but his old one, he could run probably a couple hours on the water that he had. But you kind of always want to make a water stop if you go by someplace that has water. You want to always, fill up. Keep your tender, full. I don't know how fast this is going to use water. It may not, use it very fast. I won't know till I get out on the track with it. If you want the truth.
Bernard says never run out of boiler water.
No,
things happen.
Well, and see, that's it with the propane. If you do have a problem where you're running low on water, say you're out on the track and your injector quits working and you're not moving, so your crosshead pumps can't put water in. And this one doesn't have a hand pump. Some guys put hand pumps on them, and then you could put water in it. But with propane, you can just turn the fire off, and you're good. With coal, you got to dump your fire. If you've got solid fuel, wood or coal, you got to dump that fire. Otherwise, you will damage the boiler. These things don't really, a lot of people think it'll blow up. They don't blow up, but you will damage it to the point where you're going to have some serious repairs or have to replace it, because you don't want that water to get, below the crown sheath, because it doesn't take long for that to heat up and bad things happen.
How careful are you with what water you put in it? Do you put chemicals in the water?
Yeah, actually, there's a treatment. I just had it because Claude and I were testing beer sizes. But yeah, there's you put boiler treatment in it. It reduces it. It tends to consolidate the solids and have them float to the bottom. And what'll happen is in the tender, they'll settle to the bottom of the tender. And in the boiler, they'll settle. You can't see it, but I don't know if everybody knows, but on the firebox at the very bottom, you got a thin amount of water between the firebox and the outside of the firebox. And at the bottom of that, there's a mud ring and clean out ports. So and that's one of the things you do with the blowdowns on both sides too. That's at the lowest part of the boiler, so that will blow out all that sediment and impurities. But you don't want to run water without treating it, because it will eventually really damage your boiler, and that's the life. That's the heart of the locomotive. You mess up your boiler, and you're screwed.
Daniel Banks wants to know what your running boiler pressure is.
This one, I think the safeties we're going to set them at 100 pounds. The second one is 105.
I copy that.
So that's, but you also got to be careful of the water that you put in too. Like here at our house, we're on a well, and we have a really high mineral content. Water's really good for you, but it's like you don't want to put it on your windows because you get the little white stuff. So you never want to put that water in this boiler. So when we test it up, we'll just use distilled bottled water to test it.
That's what I figured you'd use. You know, the water where you're at is extremely soft.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and that's really important because that will mess up the boiler. But yeah, y'all, everybody puts a treatment
water in my coffee machine, so I figured.
Oh, ours is bad. It's destroyed every valve, you know, water valve we've had at one point or other. We have to replace them.
Yeah,
it's bad.
That's one thing they didn't have to worry about too much, probably up in Colorado and stuff on the narrow gauge and stuff is the water having anything in it, because mountain water is always soft. So they probably didn't have to do anything to it. In fact, I'm sure they didn't do anything to it. Nathan Glay says, on a scale from 1 to 10, how complete is the 1800s locomotive?
Mine?
Yeah. Well, none of us have one, so go for it.
It's done. I mean, the locomotive is done except for the plumbing. You know, I'm waiting on my my cab valves, mechanical lubricator, and my brake stand for the cab, and then I can complete that. But I've just got to wait until John or Jeff at Local Parts has them machined, and hopefully he'll get them done in the next couple of months, because I'm starting to run out of time. I had no idea I would get this far without getting the engine plumbed. But the cab's done, which, you know, I've got to, you know, the big hurdles are over with.
When you say you're running out of time, what's your time? Like,
what's that?
When you said you're running out of time, what's going on that you're?
Well, I want it done by the end of June for the triennial up at Train Mountain.
Oh, so that's the only time this triennial thing is.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to go every 3 years, but last year due to COVID, they didn't do it, so they postponed it a year. So it's been 4 years. The last one was in 2018.
So I'm guessing people travel all over the country to this.
You get people from all over the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How do they bring their locomotives and stuff?
They have them shipped over.
Wow.
They plan months and months ahead of time, and they'll put them in a shipping container, ship them over here, and have them trucked out.
Amazing.
But I don't know if this is going to be this year with all the lockdowns and stuff. If you're going to get, when I was there in 2018, we had people from Australia, New Zealand. We had one guy from Japan. Quite a few people from Europe, Australia.
Here's something. Forget the lockdowns. It's the fuel. My cousins my family's in the meat business, and they were going to buy some big load of, say, pork jows or something from Wisconsin, and the shipping was $6,000 to have it freighted.
There you go.
North Carolina, $6,000.
Yeah.
So
in the current world we live in, I don't think we're going to get a lot of people traveling that far for the triennial.
Too expensive.
Well, I got to calculating. In fact, just this morning, just on current prices here, not counting West Coast prices, of what our trip this summer is going to cost, and we're going to spend over $1,000 in gas.
Yeah,
and I get 24 plus on the highway in the car, so. You know,
and that's if it doesn't go up to $8 a gallon.
I'm sorry.
That's if it doesn't go up to $7 or $8 a gallon.
Yeah, and then that's going to be a minimum. That would be a best scenario. Would be just over $1,000 in gas.
You might need to pull a tanker.
Yeah, I might need a tender for the car.
Yeah. Load up.
Bernard always asking. Nope, that's not the one I wanted.
Let's see. I got a couple questions.
I was after Brian's. Brian was asking me if I'd be interested in getting it. Oh, he would be interested in being adopted at some point before my next Colorado trip. Well, Brian, I'll tell you what. If you're interested, I will holler at you next time I head that way. Without the wife, that is. But yeah, I'll holler at you and you can come up here and then we can go from here.
Well, see, Allie's got a question. She says, will you have time to test it before the triennial? And That's a two-part question. We have to do a boiler, a hydrostatic test on it before we steam it up. And Tim's coming probably in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to do a hydro on it. And that just, you fill the boiler completely with water, and then there's a pump, and you pump it up to twice the pressure. So we'll pressurize the boiler to 200, probably 220 pounds. And then you look for any leaks anywhere. And if you don't have any, then you're good to steam it. And that's why they don't blow up, because these are hydroed at twice the pressure that you run at.
Yeah, well, they do water heaters the same way.
Yeah, they don't blow up, but he's going to do that. And then as far as testing it, depends on if I get it plumbed. If I get it plumbed, and we'll test it here at the house. And if we get a good test here, then we'll take it up Train Mountain and run a test before the triennial. Hopefully the triennial won't be the test. But
Bernard says you have to video the hydro test.
oh, I will. And Nathan was asking, do I have working steam engines that are working British locomotives in your collection of live steam? My collection of live steam is this one.
He may be talking more about Train Mountain. Are there any up at Train Mountain?
Oh yeah. There's one guy that he had a TGV up there. What else? There was British steam. Yeah, you get all kinds of stuff up there. If you want to find out what they have, just go to YouTube and look up Train Mountain triennials, and you'll find all kinds of stuff up there.
What's a TGV?
TGV, the the high-speed rail they have in France and Britain.
Well, now Evan, train builder, he has a what's the kid's loco?
Oh, Thomas,
and that's based on an English design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think it's a prototypical engine, but I think it's based on it.
It's pretty close. He did a pretty good job of duplicating Thomas.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have here?
I thought we'd see some trains, but don't look like there's anything out running right now.
We didn't have enough size in firebox.
Okay. Daniel's saying you wouldn't have enough size in the firebox to provide enough large volume flash steam in order to overwhelm safety and boiler strength.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the worst thing that happens is you warp your crown sheet.
Yeah.
And that's a boiler rebuild if you do that. And these boilers are thousands of dollars.
Excuse me.
Steve.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what it would cost to build that locomotive now?
Yeah, I can tell you. The little engine, just the castings for the Americans is between $7,000 and $8,000, and that's unmachined. So yeah,
so there's still a lot of work to be done to it.
Oh yeah. Oh, the machining is just crazy. John's got thousands of hours of machining this thing. I would never do it. I wouldn't have the patience.
So what do you think it would cost to build that locomotive?
What's that?
What do you think it would cost to build that locomotive today?
Well, depends if you can do the machining yourself. If you're a machinist.
Do most people in this hobby do their own machining?
Oh yeah. Most guys do. Yeah, most guys will do that. If they have the knowledge.
Isn't that kit like around 10 grand just for the kit, and that's unmachined?
Well, that's what I was just saying. That's between 7,000 and 8,000, for the kit, and that's just rough castings, and that's not everything, and that doesn't include the boiler.
Oh, it doesn't include the boiler.
No.
Oh wow.
And that boiler, you're looking at another 5,000 to 6,000, 8,000, depending on whether you're doing copper or steel. So the boiler is also going to be a huge expense. So I would say if you're going to And if you're going to do the bolt together castings, which they do, you can at least double the castings. So, you know, if you were to order it from Little Engine, say, I just want to put it together, I don't want to machine it. You'd have to look at their current prices, but I'm guessing probably anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000, not including the boiler. And so that's why I'm so blessed to have got this thing, because I never could have got into this.
You could probably spend, Daniel says, as much as a full size car, $30,000-$40,000.
Oh, easy. Oh, easy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then you've got to be able to haul it and store it. You know, so you got to have a place to put it. You got to have a way to move it. So a lot of guys have trailers, you know, enclosed trailers, or they put it in their, you know, their truck. So you got to, you know, that's why. Oh, I'd love to build a big boy. You know, that's really cool. Okay, that's fine. Let's say you can. You got to be able to move that thing.
Yeah,
That's not small. Even an inch and a half, it's not small.
Those things are big.
Well, that's like, you know, and with the RC airplanes, I was at some shows where they had airplanes up there that were in excess of 20-foot wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they look really cool, but you got to have a way to move them. And so they've got a huge trailer. They look like they're going to a drag race. You've seen drag race trailers. That's what they're hauling, and they'll pull maybe 3 airplanes out of it.
Well, I just saw a listing on one of the live Steam pages where this old gentleman, he was going to build a big boy, and he has some health conditions that's forcing him to sell the castings. He's got a complete set of castings and tender castings for a big boy, you know, and again, nothing's machined. It's just the castings, no boiler, $55,000, and that's just the castings. So,
so this is not an everyday guy.
No,
Blue collar hobby.
Yeah,
and that's why
as far as the cost goes, it would be like, do I want to own a really nice Harley Davidson or a hot rod, or, you know, there's many other hobbies that a person could get into that is on the same kind of pricing scale
exactly
as what Steve's doing. The difference is, you know, the choice of what it is I'm doing. You know?
Yeah, how bad do you want it? What do you want? Exactly. And that's why the live Steam hobby it's not dying, but the guys that have the patience to build these things, and first of all, they take years to build. A lot of people don't have the patience. So the knowledge of doing this is, you know, declining because everybody wants turnkey. They want to get out on the track and run. And that's what the hobby's kind of going towards, you know, battery operated. The Triennial, they've got a percentage of gas versus steam versus electric. And I think the last thing I heard was there were a little over 70 steam locomotives. They've got over 250 battery locomotives. And then, you know, there's gas in there. So there's not a lot of steam compared with the other stuff. You know, the millennials, the people that are getting in the hobby, they want to just buy it. You know, they don't necessarily want to build it. They want to buy something, get out on the track, which you can do.
Yeah. Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. But even the battery operated, you say you're going to buy a, you know, off the shelf battery operated, say a Jeep 40 or something like that. There's companies that make it. And if you don't want to do anything, you just want to order one, you're still looking at $20,000, 25,
yeah,
you know, for that.
Plaza Branch wants to know where you get all the parts for the steam locomotives, special made or fabricated ordinary materials.
There's a lot to unpack there. There's quite a few companies that sell detail parts for these. There's different companies that Little Engines does live steam. Let's see, there's Allen Models does live steam, and God, what's the other one? There's a third one. I want to say Rail Systems, but that I think they're railroads. Oh, it's Railroad Supply. Those are the three biggest suppliers of live steam. Generally, a lot of their parts aren't interchangeable. So if you're running, say, this is little engines, I wouldn't be able to replace a drive wheel with a Railroad Supply drive wheel. It would have to go with little engines. And if you've got something that was custom made, you have to, make your own parts. There are outfits like and local parts. That's where I'm getting all the valves and lubricators and stuff for this, and they make specific parts for all the locomotives, and it keeps him busy. Jeff's just, he's full time. That's what he does. He's a machinist, and he makes parts. But when he's doing valves, he sits down and sets up his mills and his lathes to turn a specific part, and that's why it's taken so long to get my valves, because he does a lot of them. He mass produces them, but when he gets them done, then he ships them out. I hope that answered your question.
Let's see, I had one here. Daniel wants to know, what are the castings made of? Are they cast iron or brass?
The castings are iron, cast iron, stainless steel. Then that's what's unusual about, well, they don't cast stainless. The drive wheels on this American are stainless steel. John machined them out of stainless, which is really unusual. All the wheels are stainless steel on it. And I've worked with enough stainless on this. That stainless is a pain in the ass to machine or drill through. I mean, it's just torture on drill bits. So, and lathes. So turning all those wheels with stainless is just insane. But
Yeah,
they do shine.
yeah,
And then
stainless is a pain to drill through.
Yeah.
Even a stainless steel kitchen sink, if you had to put an extra hole in it, it's not easy to drill through.
Oh, stainless is a pain, and that's a problem with that tender. All those holes, every one of them.
How many drill bits did you go through?
I lost track.
Really?
Yeah.
So
you're just waiting on the plumbing for the tender before you can paint it, and that's pretty much all you have left to do, give or take?
The tender's done. Everything's done except for painting on the tender. I can't put I've got all the deck boards cut, fit, and stained, but I got to wait till I paint the tender to put the deck boards on. And I can't paint the tender until my trucks are done, because I got to paint them at the same time. And the reason for that is the paint that I've got that John had is still good after 20 some odd years. And that stuff is insanely expensive. And I've got just enough paint that and primer and catalyst and clear coat to do the tender and the truck. So that's why I don't want to shoot them at two different times. I want to shoot them at the same time, because once I mix it, I'm done. I don't have any more paint. And my trucks are at the machinist right now, and hopefully he gets them done. Otherwise, this is going to the triennial, not painted, and I don't want to do that.
Are there any NMRA standards or equivalent on large scale trains and equipment?
Yeah, IBLS, International Brotherhood of Live Steam. So yeah, there are. All the wheels everything's to those standards. So yeah, that would be the NMRA equivalent.
That makes sense.
But yeah, the tender's done. I mean, I've tested it. It doesn't leak. The valves work. The propane valves, everything works. It's just, excuse me. It's just, I got to wait to paint it. And of course, the trucks really look hokey on it, because I got these big Bettendorfs on that little American tender, and it looks like a duck with big feet. Plus, it's higher. It's higher than it would normally be. Because I think these are 36-inch wheels, and I'm not sure what the arch bars are, but they're significantly smaller. So it's going to lower the height of the tender by at least half an inch, might be more like 3/4. So it's going to make a difference in the height of the tender. So the tender's sitting, not prototypically high. It's going to look a lot more prototype if I get my trucks done.
So Roy says you must be a millionaire.
No, I was blessed by a very good friend.
Yeah, I think we all
Yeah.
are looked at as millionaires when people hear about how expensive our hobby is.
Well, and that's why
And it doesn't-
I'm doing this as a tribute to John, because I never would have been able to get in this hobby without him.
Yeah.
He's that's so. This is a tribute to John, because he would have, he always wanted to finish it. And so that's why my attention to detail is I'm trying to keep it as close to his. I mean, that he was so meticulous. John was crazy.
Well, Steve Anderson wants to know if you're going to weather everything after you paint. He's asking for Heath.
No.
I must have missed it when Heath asked. No, it's going to be brand new off the Locomotive Works floor, huh?
Yep.
I was just curious. Do you build rolling stock too?
I do now.
You do now.
I do now. This is my first attempt at building. Well, actually, the tender kind of, but this was completely scratch built. It came out of my head, no plans, and the only thing that's store bought are the trucks. Everything else I did. So, yeah, and if the caboose, materializes, it'll be similar to this, just smaller. It'll only be 30, I think, 30 inches. So
Yeah, but then Steve's forte is woodworking, so
yeah. So
that's why I thought he did such a good job on the tender, because that was all metal.
That's why I was so glad I switched from metal to woodworking.
Yeah.
But the caboose is going to look like this if I build it. This is just a kind of a beat up plastic bobber caboose. But if I do a caboose, I'll just pattern it after this one.
Did you have a specific prototype that you were looking at when you did
No.
the fuel
No,
car?
I looked at a few pictures online of old style box cars, and it's kind of a hybrid of the fuel car that John had on his Allen 10-wheeler. It's similar, but not exact. So I kind of a little bit of that, a little bit of looking online, and just a lot of it just making up in my head as I went along, and making mistakes. Like I had to redo the doors, because when I did it the first time, I glued them to a piece of 1/4-inch plywood. And as Jerry can understand, as soon as that glue dried, those doors bowed like crap. So, well,
But then you did tongue and groove on the doors, didn't you?
no, actually I didn't. I thickened them up, and I just butt jointed them.
Oh, okay.
But they're pretty solid. I mean, they slide right off. They come right off like this, But they're solid. They're not going anywhere.
That's a pretty stable wood,
Yeah.
mahogany, because it's what's called quarter sawn.
Mhm.
So quarter sawn is the grains running straight up and down. So it really doesn't move much. But when you apply it to the plywood is what is the plywood is different layers, so each one is moving a different way.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's got there.
And the grab irons are just welding rod. I just made a jig,
Yeah, you made
a
a
wood jig for it and bent those. And these are just pieces of scrap stainless that I went up to our metal supply place, and he had a bunch of just scrap little strips in a dumpster from when they're trimming off, with their shear. And these were just, the perfect size for the grab irons.
Did he give them to you?
Sharper than hell, though. They cut the crap out of my hand.
Did he give them to you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not that much. I mean, just little strips. I didn't need that much, but
Well, yeah.
they're just screwed to the bottom. And, I made a lot of junk before I finally got the right angles on the bends.
So what's that little platform for?
That's going to be my brake wheel. There's going to be
Okay, I
a.
was wondering if you were-
I've got a piece of brass, quarter-inch brass rod that's going to run through a hole to a brake wheel up here, and the sprocket and dog on the bottom are just dummies. But I've got to be able to make it removable because this is going to have a cover on it, and the brake, the brake handle is going to probably stand about 2 inches above the top of the car,
What's the cover for?
just to keep clean.
Oh, keep it clean. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so
so you're
I'll just
cover
make
the
it
whole
so I
car.
can just lift the whole thing out. And
Are you going to
well-
make covers for everything?
what's that?
Are you going to make covers for everything?
Yeah, I'm gonna have some custom covers made. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Dennis might be able to back me up on this, but I think the scale height on those was about 3.5, 4 feet high from the top of the roof to the brake wheel
3.5.
to 4 feet.
Funny, they don't look that.
Yeah, where a brakeman could stand straight up and turn the wheel.
Well, the pictures that I was looking at line, they weren't that high. I know I've seen them, but I think that a lot of times that's what this is for. They would drop down on this platform, and it brought the height of the
Oh, yeah, it could be. The roof walk was for the brakeman to run from train to
right.
train on top of the cars,
Yeah.
because this was all before they had the pneumatic brakes.
Yeah, brakemen were expendable.
Yeah. Yes, they were. Well, guess what, guys? We're over time.
We are over the time, and I talked the whole stinking show.
Yeah,
That's all right. It's
really
listening
awesome
in.
stuff going on there, Steve. Really awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Good job.
Well, guys, Dennis and Jerry and Randall, thanks for joining us today.
You guys have a good. Take care.
Thanks
It's
for having
always
me.
fun.
See you guys.
And everybody else in chat. Oh, we got 31 here. Man,
I know, it's insane. Great.
There must not have been anything else going on in the world.
I know. All the
TV.
TV must be broken.
Anyway, it was great having everybody here, and everybody have a good weekend, rest of the weekend, and a good week, and we'll see you guys next week.
See
Later,
y'all.
guys.
Bye.
See ya.